Are you tired of running into people using this annoying thing and dying seemingly instantly? How about these akimbo pistols? What if there was a shotgun that actually killed faster than both of these things? That's right, the Lockwood 300 is actually a monster of a shotgun with the right setup, and you have to have the right setup, that's the key here, or this gun can really get you killed. It is high risk, high reward to the max, and it is a ton of fun as well. So today's video is all about the Lockwood 300, and why I think it's one of the best guns in the game for CQB 1v1s, with one of the fastest time to kills in the entire game as well. So without further ado, let's hop into it, starting with some of the damage and ranges. So the first thing I want to talk about with this gun is the damage you can do and the ranges for that damage. So up close out to about 1.8 meters, you'll deal about 200 damage per shot, and then out to about 5.8 meters, you can deal about 136 damage per shot. Now that number might vary a little bit, it'll probably be a little bit higher. As long as you hit your 4 pellets, you're going to deal at least 136 damage in that second range, and at least 200 in that first damage range. So that 5.8 meters is your max 2-shot range for the base gun, and that really isn't that great, but we can extend it with some attachments. Now the really other great thing about this gun is the fire rate, because it only has 2 shots, but those 2 shots can fire very quickly, and it has about 171 rounds per minute according to sim.gg, which puts our 2-shot time to kill at about 350 milliseconds, which is faster than any of the other shotguns, including the Expedite 12 with Dragon's Breath and its faster bolt for fire rate, and also faster than the Fennec up close. This is one of the fastest time to kills in Warzone that I know of, and this thing is no joke, and it's so awesome to use for one-on-ones. This is, in my opinion, one of the best shotguns to use for one-on-one engagements. If you can get really close to them and get those 2 shots off, this is one of the best shotguns in the game for that. But unfortunately, this leads me into my sort of the downsides of this gun, which is the 2 shots, of course, and that's the very big obvious one. You only have 2 shots and then a reload, which it's kind of a big bummer on this one because you don't really get loadouts as often as you used to, and you need to have fast hands to make it work because your reload is about 2 seconds without sleight of hand, and that is with the base gun. So it is really not good. You have to get those 2 shots and then switch to another gun if you have to, maybe a pistol with fast draw. If you don't, you're risking dying pretty bad actually, because wow, it's just not good to have only 2 shots. So it puts you at a pretty significant disadvantage unless you get those 2 shots. So it's really high risk, high reward, and I'd say the reward is actually pretty good as long as you can make it in those first 2 damage ranges. But this leads me to my next really big deal breaker, and that is the damage potential when hip firing versus aim down sights. So I went in and tested this, and the same thing that happened in Warzone 1 with the 725 is happening in Warzone 2. So basically, if you are hip firing this gun with the base ammo type, your damage when you hip fire is limited to only 3 pellets. If you aim down sights, it goes up to 4. So essentially what that means is up close and personal in someone's face, usually you deal about 200 damage if you aim down sights, but when you hip fire, you're only going to deal about 150. So like I said, it basically caps you at 3 pellets when you hip fire, but when you aim down sights, it magically bumps it up to 4 pellets, which is how it should be because every other shotgun in the game is capped at 4 pellets no matter what. But for some reason, for some sort of balancing purposes, they made it to where 3 pellets only when you're hip firing and then 4 when you're aiming down sights. That makes this very difficult to hip fire. If you were using this with a range build and you're not in that first damage range, you're not going to get a 2-shot kill. It's just not going to happen, and it's going to screw you over pretty bad. That's why I think a lot of people are complaining about this gun on Reddit. I've seen a few bad clips because they tend to hip fire with this gun and they don't know that you really can't hip fire this thing unless you're point blank. Like, you legitimately can't. You won't get the 2-shot kill. So that is a big deal breaker. But I have one big but about that, and that is Dragon's Breath, because Dragon's Breath, in my opinion, just like with the other shotguns, is 100% the way to go with this shotgun. So now let's go over Dragon's Breath and why I think it's so good. So the interesting thing about Dragon's Breath is it seems to increase the damage you can do overall, and it also seems to increase your damage ranges, which is really nice. So again, there's really no reason not to use it at this point, but up close and personal, your damage is going from about 200 to about 220. Now, it was a little bit finicky. Sometimes it'd be like 210, other times it'd be 220. It was probably something to do with the in-game stats and how they're rounding the numbers, but just know it's probably going to be around 210 to 220 points of damage, which is still better than, of course, the base 200. In that next damage range, instead of dealing about 136 base damage, it's going to be more about 142. So again, that's basically just a flat increase to the damage you do, which is really nice. Now, the ranges are also increased, and as you can see, they go up to about 3.3 for that max damage range, and then 7.1 for that second range. So that means that your Dragon's Breath 2-shot potential is basically extending from about 5.8 to 7.1. So again, as you can see, that's really the way to go, and that is with no attachments, so we can get this thing even better with ranged attachments. The next great thing about Dragon's Breath is it completely removes that mechanic where 3 pellets deals less damage, so you're basically getting that 4 pellet cap now. Overall, whether you hit fire or aim down sights, it's 4 pellet cap now, so you're always going to deal 200 damage up close, or 210, I'm sorry, if you hit fire or aim down sights up close in someone's face. That is another great thing about Dragon's Breath, and another reason why it's just the best way to go overall. I will say that sometimes it does feel a little strange with Dragon's Breath, like you kind of have to wait for that burn to kick in to really get that effective 2-shot, but sometimes it doesn't really matter. I've kind of had a finicky time with it at ranges, but overall I find it to be a lot more consistent than the base gun for obvious reasons. So now what I want to do is go over my favorite 2 classes that I've been running on this thing and what attachments I think you should be using. For the first build, this is going to be the ranged, focused, and the best 2-shot kill class in Warzone. It has the best 2-shot range out of all the shotguns, and that is going to be with the Matuzek 812 barrel, the Seiken DB107 suppressor, Dragon's Breath, the demo carbon guard to get us a little bit of better sprint speed because we need to be a little bit more mobile with this build, and then the high stock mod. Now the big thing about this one is that suppressor, you can use the Seiken DB107 or you can use the GW Max 99. I did notice they basically both give you the same boost to your damage range, but the Seiken DB107 gives you a little bit less of a penalty to your aim down sight speed, so I usually opt for that one now. It used to be the GW Max 99, but ever since Sim.gg came out, it looks like that's not really the best way to go, so just go with the Seiken DB107. Now, another good class that I love to use on this is actually with the 11-inch barrel, because now it's a little bit more viable. Since we don't have to deal with 1-shot kill potential, we're just trying to get up close and get those 2 shots off as quick as we can, and boy, does this build feel so good. I love it. It's basically just swapping out that barrel for the 11-inch special barrel. You still want to keep the suppressor because you want that extra range with this thing, and this build is so much fun. You're going to see a lot of it in my gameplay, and I've been having a blast with this thing, no pun intended. It is just such a great time. Now, when you put on the 812 barrel and you do put on that Seiken DB107 with Dragon's Breath, your 2-shot is around 9.5 meters, which is the best in class. Not by a whole lot. I think the Bryson 800 can get to about 9.3, so pretty close there, but when you do put on that 11-inch Bryson special barrel, it takes that down to about 7.6 meters with the suppressor, of course, but I honestly think it's totally worth the trade-off for how quick you can be on your feet and how quick you can aim down sights. I think this is one of the better builds in all honesty, and I really enjoy using the good mobility from this barrel. So let me know what you guys think about this barrel, and overall, my thoughts on this gun, I love it. I've actually come to enjoy it quite a bit. It's like my go-to now for one-on-one engagements, at least with Dragon's Breath, and if you're tired of dying to some guns up close so fast, just spit this in their face. Just throw a double barrel in their face, and it's going to kill them so quick, they won't even have time to just blink. I mean, it's so fast and it's so effective. I really encourage you guys to try it out, especially that 11-inch barrel. It's just so much fun, and I really encourage you guys to try it. It's a little weird with only having 2 shots, but again, Dragon's Breath is a must. Don't forget that, and honestly, it's just too much of a good time. So with all that being said, guys, let me know down below in the comments, what do you think of this shotgun? What do you think of Dragon's Breath on this shotgun? And with all that being said, I will see you in the next shotgun video.